Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul. Hopefully having an amazing day. As we get closer to the inevitable PlayStation 5 Pro announcement, there are more and more rumours that seem to be coming out every day, and in a few moments we're going to be discussing several of them, as there have been some leaked images of the machine, some updates to the release schedule, and whether the machine actually comes with a disk drive. But I want to begin this video actually by discussing Arrow Lake P. Now, back in 2022, Adored TV, who is a fellow YouTuber, actually leaked the existence of Arrow Lake P, which is essentially can be thought of as a AMD Strix Point Halo competitor. The best way of thinking of this is taking a bunch of Arrow Lake CPU cores, so that would be 6 Lion Cove and 8 Skymont, and then adding a crap ton of XE cores as well, or should I say 320 EUs. Now, this is basically a product that, in theory, obviously the performance is not 100% certain at this stage, but it would probably be the nail in the coffin for many low-end discrete GPUs, particularly that would be present in a laptop. After all, if you have an APU, presuming of course it does hit the performance targets and there's no major issues with it, that is capable of basically just performing similarly, and it just requires less power, it's just easier to manufacture, and so on and so on, I think we can all agree that this would be a very compelling option for a lot of people. Now, you can see the image that Adored TV did leak in 2022. I'm not going to go into all of the details here, but this was basically thought to have been canned. But recently there have been a couple of very intriguing updates. So a day or two ago, depending when you watch this video, there was actually a shipping manifest that seemed to be confirming that Intel was still working on this product. And again, just because it appears in a shipping manifest, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is still going to be released. Maybe they were testing something for a future product and this was just kind of a stand-in. That stuff can happen all of the time, but there is a website, a Chinese website, more specifically a forum, Weibo. I'm hoping I've pronounced that correctly. If not, I profusely apologize. And basically speaking, there have been a couple of very interesting posts on there. Now, unfortunately, I can't speak or read Chinese natively, so I'm having to rely on a couple of different forms of translation. One is Google, and the other is ChatGPT. And as we know, ChatGPT is always 100% correct. It never, ever, ever makes a mistake. But Miwu, I definitely pronounced that incorrectly, said that we haven't really talked about Arrow Lake Halo for a long time. Now, maybe it just didn't exist, or basically it was cancelled. However, then there was something pretty profound which happened, and a Lenovo product manager essentially states that this is not the case. I'm going to read this translation from ChatGPT. There is something that matches up to Halo, but it's not early. The final product is gone, probably a GPU tile which was used for Panther Lake, and the RVP board for Arrow Lake Halo does exist, end quote. So what does all of this mean? Well, most likely the specifications that Jim leaked back again in 2022 potentially have changed either significantly or slightly. Maybe they feel that it needs to be more performant, or maybe there are some other changes, maybe on the way the tiles are it could be 100 different things. I could be here for the next year speculating on the changes. They could have changed the graphics IP that was utilized. Unfortunately, we don't know 100% whether we are looking at Generation 1 or Generation 2 graphics in this thing. Either way, it's going to be very interesting, because if this product does exist, honestly, I think that's just going to be excellent. It does, of course, also really depend quite extensively on the timing for all of this, but I want to talk about it because I think low-end discrete GPUs going away, basically, and bringing the cost down for basic gaming, you know, like 1080p, that type of thing, especially with games that don't exactly take a ton of horsepower to run, that is only ever a good thing. And if you're dealing with like kind of thermal constraints you know, laptops and so on and so on. Again, I think that's absolutely fantastic. But now let's move on to PS5 Pro. This is courtesy of Deal Labs, and there's been a couple of people that messaged me about this in DM, and a few other people who tagged me about this, so thanks to everyone who did on Twitter, and also a couple of people who emailed me as well. Thanks ever so much for that, but let's just go over this real quick. So apparently the official information on Deal Labs, and again I'm using Google Translate here, it is going to be the PS5 Pro. I mean, let's just be honest, everyone knew it. Sony have established the PS4 and PS4 Pro, PS5, the PS5 Pro. We didn't really expect it was going to be called the Triangle. It just was, you know, inevitable for the naming scheme. One thing I'll say to you guys, Sony, I wouldn't say they're exactly 100% a creature of habit. However, you can make some really good guesses based on their previous history, particularly for stuff which worked, and then say, you know what, they're probably just going to be doing that again. So again, the naming scheme just makes a lot of sense. Now you can see this sketch here, which is again credit to Deal Labs for the console, and this basically, they've essentially seen the packaging carton of the new console. They won't be able to share the original visual because they don't want to get sued, and I certainly don't want to get slapped in the face by Sony. But essentially, we do have an image here which looks very similar to that of the PS5 Slim. So there are two USB-C ports and a power button, which are going to be on the front of the console. There's also three black stripes, excuse me, at the exterior facade of the PS5 Pro. But basically, if you've seen a PS5 Pro Slim, you know what this looks like. So this is a console which honestly doesn't differ too much from the base model. From what I've heard through the grapevine and also from other leaks on Twitter, Tom Henderson, for example, the development kits of the PS5 Pro are essentially identical to the development kits of the PS5. So there is no significant difference. It doesn't have, like, you know, LED lights and go faster stripes on it. It is basically identical. Now, unfortunately, what isn't clear yet is whether the console comes with a disk drive or not. It's very possible it could be a little bit like the PS5 Slim. In other words, you need to plonk a disk drive in. The question is, if you own a PS5 Slim along with the appropriate disk drive, can you use it in a PS5 Pro? Honestly, I don't know. I've asked a number of people regarding whether there's a disk drive, and everyone just told me they don't know the retail designs. All they've told me is what's in the development kits and what the rough hardware specs of the machine are. So unfortunately, I can't answer that, guys. I really wish I could. I have heard that the development kits have 2 terabytes of space. Whether that's going to be present in the retail consoles or whether there's going to be multiple versions, I don't know as well. At this point, anything can change. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony did go with 2 terabytes. It'll be very interesting to see what the game install sizes are like for the PS5 Pro. In theory, the assets for the PS5 Pro installations may be larger. Just for example, texture sizes, blah 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 blah. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm seriously excited to see what games look like on the Pro versus the base machine. Again, not all games are going to be fully taking advantage of it. If you have like a game that came out, you know, at the start of the console and hasn't been receiving a patch, for what it's worth though, I've heard several games are probably going to be getting patches, and one of those I've heard is actually Cyberpunk. I've also heard GTA 6 is going to be extensively marketed for the console. Whether this is true or not, plans can change or information can be wrong. GTA 6, however, being heavily pushed with the PS5 Pro, quite frankly, is pretty much a no-brainer. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some type of like packing or pack-in kind of like deal and like major marketing push for Sony. It would really help them sell units if the PS5 Pro version played significantly better. What significantly better looks like, whether it's, you know, massively higher frame rates, ray tracing, blah blah blah, it's too difficult to know. But yeah, I don't really have any good sources within the development studios responsible for that, so I can't really answer. I've just heard, you know, through the grapevine. But The big question is, when is the console going to be announced? And according to this, they are stating it's going to be in the first half of September. I personally think this is quite likely. I don't think it's, I mean, Jeff Grubb said it's going to be the end of September. I personally think first half of September is probably more likely, but I don't know. I just keep hearing it's very soon. As I said in yesterday's video, very soon to me isn't a month away. It's like, you know, the next couple of weeks. But again, it's Sony. They kind of just do things as and when. They, you know, it's that situation where they know that we know it exists. We know that they know that we know that it exists. But they can basically just take their time, and I think we could all agree it's better for them to have all of their ducks in a row. And I don't just mean like, oh, they need to tweak the software or whatever, but, you know, I'd rather the event be as good as it could be, and the announcement be as good as it can be, and everything's nailed down. With that said, guys, I think that's just about it for this particular video. Apologies for not being on camera for this one. I was actually working on an entirely different video for this for today, but this kind of popped up, and as I said, so many people messaged me about it, so but normal service will resume. But take care of yourselves. Have an amazing day. Bye for now.